You got to throw it right between your eyes.
Going to call the meeting to order, and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mona, can you take roll call?
Yes, Director Davidson.
Here.
Director Stump.
Present.
President Radaman.
Here.
Director Dean.
Here.
And Director Dooley.
Here. Before we go to public comment, it's like we're going to make a change to the agenda.
Scott?
Yes.
If I may interject, we thought we had a time conflict. That's no longer the case, and we can keep that report that we needed to move around back in the proper place. We'll bring it in under GM report.
Okay, and the change I'm making is to item number 12, closed session. We're going to cancel that item for today. Public comment. At this time, members of the public may address the board on any non-agendized item. The public is encouraged to work through staff to place items on the agenda for board consideration. No action can be taken on matters not listed on the agenda. Comments are limited to 5 minutes per person. Any public comment? Seeing none, move on to item number 3, consent agenda. The following items are expected to be, there's nothing to report. Old business, nothing to report. Move on to item 5, new business. 5A, discussion action regarding amending the district's financial management policy. Number 5.01, investment policy. Lynn Gentry.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This item and the next 2 items are a result of the realignment that was approved in December. We have in place a financial management policy for investment direction. The only change we are making in this policy has to do with titles that we changed for the realignment. Now instead of the Director of Financial Services, to administer this policy. It has been changed per our general manager to the general manager or designee. And one other change is that we will be adding the auditor controller as part of the finance committee, standing finance committee. Any questions on this one?
Any questions of the board?
So moved.
No?
Second.
Who determines who the designee is?
The general manager.
General manager. What if the general manager is not here?
So I'll have to designate someone prior to any transactions.
Okay, we got a motion and a second on this item. Any public comment related to item 5A? Seeing none, any further discussion? Got the motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0. 5B, again, Lynn, discussion action regarding amending the district's financial management policy, policy number 5.02, purchasing policy.
Again, this is just a change in titles. We're removing the titles of people who will no longer be on the list. I'm one of them. And we are changing titles for people who've had title changes. There are, and adding a couple, such as the board of the program and the person have purchasing authority. The only other changes, there was one reduction in approval for the director of facility services and engineering, 35 down to 10. These are recommendations by the general manager. And that's the only change to this policy.
Move for acceptance.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any public comment on item 5B? Any discussion from the board on item 5B? Okay, with a motion and a second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0. Again, new business, 5C, discussion action regarding approval of authorized signature on Umpqua Bank accounts. Lynn?
This will take effect on March 17, and there will be a change in authorized check signers from the executive group, the general manager, and the assistant to the general manager, and the finance and admin group that has been established in the past. They always have one signer from each group on the checks. It will be Patricia Christensen, Jeff Meyer, and Stacy Lawler. The reason we put Stacy Lawler on there is because the payroll responsibilities have been moved over to HR. And we need this change because right now I sign the checks, and we'll be taking me off and adding the new check signers. And this again has been done by the general manager and other recommendations.
You really think you're retiring, huh?
You really causing a lot of trouble. How many hours? Move for a second.
Second.
Any public comment on the item 5C?
I'd just like to verify that all these people on there, and I'm sure they are all bonded.
Yes, no insurance.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Are we about to close?
Item
Working on it.
5D, we're busting. Discussion action regarding acceptance completion of the Jenny Lind Flood Mitigation Protection, CCWD CIP number 11068R. Charles Palmer and Bill Purley.
Generally, flood protection's been done, we got 75-25 grant on the FEMA, everything's okay. If you guys will accept it, we can turn it, FEMA get the final payment.
Move for acceptance.
Second.
Got a motion and a second on the floor for 5D. Any public comment on this
Just wanna give
item?
A little history, just for people in the audience, how this went down.
What happened was in 2006, during all the flooding, the water from the river actually came up into the electric controls into the raw water pump station at Jenny Lind. And what we did was, we had two things. Is one, we got 110% grant to, modify a lot of our dams around the district. But the same thing that happened was, it made us eligible for pre-disaster mitigation money. So we applied for that based upon the fact that if that pump station, well, at the time that the water came up on our property, we were running around 9,600 CFS. The dam was released, was going to go up to 12,000, which would have flooded out our entire raw water pump station, and we would have probably put that the Jenny Lind area out of water for at least 1 to 2 month time period. So then what happened was, we came back and through the pre-disaster mitigation program, we applied for a grant. It was based on the flood protection. And it's been a while since, because we didn't really have the matching funds. It was a 75-25 grant, and we finally got the money. It was based upon the original problem was the governor took the property taxes and finally paid us back, and that allowed us to do our matching funds. But we got the project completed. We moved the pumps up, raised the pumps up. We also moved the electrical controls out of the line of fire list. But so we're in pretty good shape. But at the time, we were looking at a real disaster. In fact, the Corps had taken the flows up to 12,600, we would have actually lost that pump station. It's a guarantee, because when Larry and I went down there, at that day of the MAC meeting to get down there was already water going into the pump house. So.
And the situation is that Calaveras meets up with
Yes.
Cosgrove Creek, and when they ramp it up out of Calaveras, it creates a backup on Cosgrove Creek, and that caused a creep into our system. Is that
Right, came right into, actually was in the pump. We have pictures of it where the water actually, and even sandbagging, it wasn't going to do anything. I mean, we're at 9,600 CFS. If they brought it up to 12,000, we were toast. I mean, we were basically out of water, and that's what, we didn't really have any control over that, because the Corps has to do what they had to do up there. So that's kind of how that project started. We applied for the money. We were lucky enough to get it. And also, part of the getting the money for the redwood tanks was contingent on us completing the genuine flood protection job, which we did. We notified FEMA, so that is moving through its final stages on funding. So, but it's a good project. I mean, it's kind of surprising if you were down there those days during the flooding, how close it came to wiping out the pump station. It was pretty bad actually, and it was raining like crazy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That's all I just wanted to do. Pleasure.
Back in the days of rain.
Say, Bill, we still have we'll still be carrying a bond for another 2 years?
Yeah, they have to basically, yeah, that's exactly what you're doing today. After you approve this, they're gonna have to have a bond for 2 years, it's regular maintenance bond.
Okay.
In the agenda right now. It's normal procedures. But yeah, if anything goes wrong, we'll give them a call. I think I will. It's running pretty good right now. It's been running for several months, so it's in pretty good shape.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I think we got a motion and a second on this item. Any public comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Okay, moving on to item 6 on the agenda, committee reports. Any committee reports from the board? Engineering Committee, Finance Committee, Legislative Committee, Highway 4 Committee, Executive Committee, Operation Headquarter Committee. No committee reports? Seeing none, move on to item 7, legislative update. Anyone?
Well, the only thing I could say is that there's a lot of proposals floating around out there now with regard to the bond. It's going to be front and center. They need to vote, have a 2/3 majority in order to change the current bond proposal as it exists for the $11.14 billion. And now there are at least a half a dozen proposals jockeying anywhere from, I think, about $9 billion down to about $6 billion with regard to the proposed water bond itself. Seems to be, consensus is that the bond itself will be somewhere between $8 and $7 billion if it finally gets to the voters. Up until just recently, there's been some concern that the governor is not very sanguine about the bill itself. There was some comment that he seemed to feel that it wouldn't fly this year, and of course, that's subject to change, of course, depending upon his whim, but it might be an issue to pay close attention to. But there will be a lot of action revolving around the bond. I was at the Aqua State Ledge Committee meeting last week, and that was probably 90% of the conversation was the variability. Now, Aqua, of course, has its own proposal, which was about $8.1 billion, which includes the $3 billion storage, and they're willing to throw themselves on the sword for that. And there seems to be a certain amount of alignment that will suggest that the bond proposal, if it does make the ballot to go to the voters, will probably have a significant storage component. So that's basically all right now.
What happens when, if it goes to the vote and it fails, does it go back to the beginning, or does it just continue fine and they?
No, I think they would come back with a new proposal, something that might, in the opinion of whomever crafts the bond legislation, would feel that the voters would find acceptable. But the thing is, it's a huge question mark. Nobody knows right now. I think that the drought may favor some positive interest with regard to the bond, but I just don't know.
Are they praying for no more rain in Sacramento?
No, no. There's a certain level of hysteria that exists throughout the Central Valley. Not so much in Southern California, because they have all their reservoirs are chock full. They are in relatively good shape. They've got some good conservation practices in place, and my sense is that they'll certainly get past this year without too much trouble. And of course, they've been working with recycled water for a long time, and they've got the systems in place that will address it. The people who are going to be hurting are the people around the Sacramento area. Those people who are dependent upon Folsom. There's some deep concern that there won't be sufficient water unless we have a fairly wet spring. And even then, there'll probably be some significant reductions. There's been some talk about sending out water police, which I find very interesting, to look at water waste. And there's been some talk, this is actually going on down at TUD. Interestingly enough, you know, they rolled back the rate increase with the new board they had down there. Now they're talking about raising the rates again. And one of the things that I find very interesting is, given their situation with regard to water, and they have a very serious problem with water because they have no water rights, they may have in place, if they don't already have it in place, a regulation that will carry fines up to $500 if there's abuse of water in the future, certainly coming into the spring and summer. So there's a lot going on with regard to water. I don't know that there's a lot of clear thinking going on. As I say, there's a certain level of hysteria that is prompting this. So if you're going to have a favorable set of conditions to support the weather bond, getting back to my original comment, this is probably the circumstance that will allow it to happen, but we'll just have to see.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Item 8, Bay Delta issues. Anyone have anything on Bay Delta? Okay.
Well, it's more of the same. It's all intimately tied to the current legislation and posturing on the water bond.
Okay, reports. Item 9. General Manager, Larry, I know you're sitting in for Mitch. Any items for General Manager report?
Jim Crowley had an update on the CFP program for starters.
Okay. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you. And good morning, my name is Jim Crowley. I'm in the district with the capital improvement plan, and Mitch has asked me to give you a brief update on where we stand on that plan. On the wastewater side of these projects, we have a few projects in construction now that we're building with our in-house construction crew. The Copper Cove area, Poker Flat lift station 9, 10, and 11 replacements have been ongoing and ought to be within the next month. We also had the in-house crews, Bill and his crews on the Millwoods Horse Main and lift station project, and that was split into two parts. The first part has been done, and the second phase, which is connecting a handful of customers back onto the system, is scheduled to take place this fall. And then the big wastewater project is the Copper Cove reclaimed permit. As we know, we're under a TSO on that with the regional board, and Bill has been in discussions with the regional board. He thinks he's got a pretty good plan worked out. We're waiting to hear back from the board in a letter that basically states the plan that Bill would like to implement. And then once we have that letter, we'll start implementing on that plan. A few projects that are scheduled to start planning and designing in the next few months are the Hooker Flat Lift Station 8 and Force Main Replacement Project. And that is the project where we have a force main that goes under the lake, and we're going to move it out to minimize the risk of spilling in the lake on that. And the other project plan to get going is electrical upgrades down at Copper Cove Stations 15 and 18, and currently we're planning to have our in-house crews work on that. That's the update on the wastewater. Are there any questions?
I got a quick question on the pipe that goes under the lake. Is it planning on being rerouted or just replaced?
It'll be rerouted.
Okay.
Where it'll be all above the water level?
Correct, yeah.
When you're pulling it completely out of the lake, we're running it down in Connors, Maine. We're gonna bypass 12 and 13. And the interesting thing, on the Poker Flats pump station, remember that backhoe you guys proved a couple of years ago? It's easy to walk down there. We didn't have to blast or anything, because there's extremely, a lot of rocks sitting in the Poker Flats area. But that backhoe that we bought a few years ago, yeah, it's eating it like nothing. So we haven't had to rent any equipment, we haven't had to blast, we haven't had to do anything. The same thing on the upper cross country, when we went through that, the backhoe was eating that stuff up too, so it's a pretty good machine.
Thank you, Bill.
That was the whole, hell, that was the whole on this station.
Yeah, upper cross country, yeah. That's a pretty powerful machine. We used it to run the water line down at Lock Antenna to get us on that recycle water for that permit we got down there too. We've used on a bunch of stuff, but this thing here is kind of interesting because there is a lot of rock down there and that backhoe will eat it, so it's pretty neat.
Great. Thank you.
It's a magic backhoe. Okay, on to the water projects. The contract that was approved last fall was the Jenny Lynn clear oil replacement project, and the contractor is out there now and working on that project. Another project that we're doing in-house is the Jenny Lynn ozone generator, and that has been ordered, and we're expecting to get that order this spring and then install it. The large projects that we have in design right now is the Ebbets Pass Reach 3A pipeline replacement. And the interesting thing on that project, and the good news is that Bill has been working with the USDA, and it looks like we have a pretty good odds of getting up to $2 million in grants.
45% of the project based upon the medium also.
So we're right now in the process of Bill's meeting with the USDA this Friday to find out all of the details on the grant requirements, and then we'll modify our design reports and environmental studies to match up with whatever the grant requirements are, and then hopefully we'll find out. Do you know when we find out?
Tomorrow.
So we made an application with USDA for the...
What he did was, I was going to do this in my report, but I guess I'll do it. I was going to explain to you guys, I got a whole bunch of stuff going on.
Well, wait, that's fine.
Okay. So that Reach 3A is currently scheduled to be bid late summer this fall, and then we may have to modify that schedule based on the USDA requirements. We're also going to be going to planning and design in a few months on a few other water projects. The tank management plan, which is updating all of the hydraulic models to help us size future tank requirements and the pipeline replacement requirements. I will be starting planning and design on the Jenny Lynn AV transmission main, the Ebbets Pass Reach 1 pipeline replacement, the Techite water line replacement, which is up in that as well. And I think that's the list of projects that will be starting in the next few months. So are there any questions on the water projects?
The Reach 3A, you're anticipating construction this year, or is that going to be pushed into 2015?
So the current schedule is to have it ready for bid this late summer, fall. We do have wetlands that we're crossing up in that area, and going through a permitting process could impact on that schedule. We would like to start construction this fall, and that's the schedule that we're moving on with, but I think we'll find out more as we get through the environmental requirements, and then as we get through Caltrans, a review of our environmental documentation. And then also the US DA process has extra environmental requirements because it's a federally funded project. And, you know, as I was mentioning earlier, I think in the next few weeks we'll find out a lot more about if we have extra needs and if there's any impacts to the schedule on that.
Are we going to realign that at all?
We are actually trying to replace in place as much as possible due to easement needs. And met last week with the operations staff and found a lot of places where we can back feed various pressure zones and be able to replace in place.
Any other questions for Mr. Crowley? Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Scott, one other thing under the reports. I know you don't have to go too far to find a drought workshop at the state level, but we wanted to make the board aware that there's going to be a program offered locally through Columbia College Foundation's lecture series. It's entitled Focus on Foothill Water Beyond the Drought, and they have speakers from the T-Stand group. They're going to make a presentation on Thursday, March 13th, 6:30 at the Sonora High Auditorium, free to the public.
Thank you.
I just want to ask one question.
Go ahead.
Where is that general manager? Is he on vacation or
He's in D.C.,
working for the district, or?
it's my understanding.
It's part of the Aqua Federal Affairs program.
Would have been nice to know.
Got a public comment here.
No, I just have a question. If I heard correctly at some point that the Ebbets Pass water pipe is going to be replaced with something of a smaller size than what the existing pipe is, and if that is correct, is that going to mean that you're going to insert a sleeve or something inside the existing pipe, or will it be a completely different pipe?
Mr. Crowley will address that. Thank you, Mr. Duncan.
In the preliminary planning phase we created a model, or the consultant created a model that looked at if that pipe could be smaller, because as I understand it, that whole system was originally designed to have the treatment plant at the top of the hill and all over it come down. And that was not where the treatment plant was placed. So we looked at if the main transmission mains really need to be as large as they are. And I don't think that we're making it any smaller at this time. We still haven't gotten into our 60% middle. That's coming in a few weeks. I do not believe there's any thoughts about slip lining the pipeline.
Because it would reduce the cost appreciably, would it not?
It's structurally the pipe right now that has a problem with the structure. It's a cement line steel pipe. And what it is the cement line is coming on your severe corrosion all over the place. Slip line, I can tell you a real interesting story with that, but it doesn't improve the structural integrity of that pipe. And at 250 PSI, that is really one of the critical issues. So that's why replacing with ductile or something along that line is more long-term goals. I mean, slip lining has its places in certain things, but not in this particular case. Too much pressure.
Okay, so it's assumed it will be at the same size as the existing one?
Yeah, you get the main problem here is pipe flows. That's usually one of the main determining factors on the size of the pipe if you really want to know the truth. And that's past hazardous standards on the, I think it's on the website, I can send it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jim. Anyone else with reports for our general manager, Mitch? Anything else? Move on to Lynn Gentry. Anything addition? Jeff Meyer?
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the board. I just wanted to provide a brief update on where we are on the loan solicitation process for the water and wastewater services under the capital R&R program. Southwest Securities sent out the bank solicitation last week to 16 banks. A wide variety of lists, locals including Umpqua, BBVA, who processed our last loan, Rabobank, Bank of the West, all the way up to JP Morgan Chase, who has shown interest as well in this process. We've got some real positive feedback at this particular point in time, and we hope at the March meeting we'll be coming back with a proposal to your board for approval. But it's been very positive to date. Yes?
I was wondering about getting a regular report in terms of how much revenue we've collected for CIP and how much we've spent, so we keep an ongoing tally.
I do that on a monthly basis, the first meeting of the month at the board meeting. That's when we provide you the revenues for the month and the expenditures for the month.
Cool, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. Bill Purley, anything further?
No.
Well, come on up, see what you got to say.
Make everybody comfortable.
No more holes in one?
Well, the other day I almost had one, but the hole was in the wrong place. Yesterday we had a pretty good day, district had a pretty good day. We contacted DWR and they're going to reimburse us for $173,867.91 for the West Point pipeline project that we had on our cost share up there. The district had out-of-pocket expenses of $268,000. So yesterday, after conversing with DWR, they're going to reimburse us $173,000, which is not bad. The main reason why is we have about we replaced approximately 15,000 linear feet of pipe. We've had about a 50% water savings. So we were just estimating, we probably had 9 gallons a day leaking out per foot of pipe. So it's about, we reduced the flow now by well now.
Is the McCollum still on it?
The funny thing is it's totaled out, it's like 160 acre feet of pipe, 100 acre feet of water we actually saved because of what we did. It's about 100 gallons a minute. It's been surprising ever since the pipeline got put in. We bought 4 master meters, we put them out in the system and we're monitoring and stuff. So they're real numbers. I mean, we're just kind of shocked that there was that much leakage all over the place.
What have you done about to mitigate the wetlands?
Wetlands that we created? Actually, we're going to put a beer stand out there. We should but the water usage is in. So yesterday we had a conference call with DWR, and what they're going to do is they're going to release $172,867.91 for us, so that'll help offset some of the $268 we put on that project out there. It was like almost a $2.5 million project. But that came out pretty good, and it is a success because there is an extreme 160 acre feet of water savings is basically what's happening. And that was at an extremely high loss.
I know originally when we talked about the potential of water loss through pipes and stuff like that, huh?
It's unaccounted for water, not loss, but go ahead.
All right, whatever. The point was, I think we originally were talking about, what, 10% you thought?
20%.
20%. Well, do you think this is indicative of our system? Would we get comparable savings with the replacement up in the Evans Pass area? Or perhaps down Jenny Lane?
Well, as part of the grant, we also got leak detection equipment too, really state-of-the-art stuff. They call it correlators and stuff like that. We can actually pinpoint. We've been experimenting with them on the Evans Pass to see what type of areas. I mean, obviously, we can't do it full-time, but we have been checking out to see if any sections of that pipe are really bad. So, you know, we're doing it off and on. And are we going to get that type of savings? I don't know. I mean, this is kind of surprising. You had that galvanized in downtown West Point that we knew was bad. We just didn't realize it was this bad. And then there were, you know, looks like we guessed at which part of the pipeline to replace. The other part's actually pretty tight. I guess it was put in the 80s. But basically, at the end of the day yesterday, DWR is extremely pleased with their project. They're willing to reimburse us for a good percentage of the matching funds we had to put out for USDA for that project, for that pipeline project out there. So the district is only out about $90,000 now on that project for a couple, $2.5 million project. That worked out pretty good. And like I said, I reported to DWR yesterday about 160 acre feet of water savings a year right now is what it looks like. Which isn't bad.
Very nice.
Well, I got another question.
Go ahead, Bob.
In 2009 water legislation, they had that little thing that talked about 20% savings by 2020.
Yeah.
Do you think we're going to be able to do that just through our pipe replacement projects? Will we be able to show 20% conservation?
We're kind of in a unique situation here where we have, and a lot of people don't understand, we have recycled water use all over. So we have some of our biggest users. Saddle Creek, Lock and Tennant, and Forest Meadows use an extremely high amount of recycled water. So they've cut back on the raw water. Actually, Lock and Tennant, we know for a fact, has cut back, and so has Saddle Creek, to be honest, too. They've cut back the water too. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, we could go around fixing all the leaky pipes out there too, but it'd be a lot of money. Would that help to do it? Yeah, it probably would knock some of it down. I can't give you an actual number of how much water savings we'd have if I replaced all the water lines in the district. I don't know. I know one thing is we do have some real big pluses out there where we are using maximum amount of recycled water all the place, particularly with the new permanent Lock and Tennant. We've actually emptied our pond out for the first time in years out there. And we're going to be able to continue doing that because the statewide general irrigation order we have out down there allows us to do that. Part of, I'll tell you about Copper Cove. I met with the state down there, and what the agreement is to not use recycled water on the wetlands anymore, is to just use raw water. And that'll get us out of the NPDS, so that'll change the cost of the project from somewhere between $12 to $15 million because the new requirements down to that was a pretty good day. So I wrote them a letter, you know, identifying all the items that were agreed upon in the meeting. I'm just going to call them, make sure it's okay, and if it is, then we'll be looking at a $2 million project as opposed to 15. And that one came out pretty good the other day. But what we're doing is I met with Saddle Creek yesterday, and I've been meeting with them off and on, and how we can make their system a little bit more efficient down there. They're 100% cooperative. The CSD is 100% cooperative down there. I mean, it's been amazingly easily for us to do. We have to put in 10 feet of pipe to save $15 million. So I was wondering, can we have a vote on this?
I think that's within your spending budget.
It's actually got reduced to $3 here. But that's kind of the situation. If this goes through, and I believe it is because they want to do the same thing, we're going to have a similar type permit that we have at Lock and Tennant, which is as good as, the Lock and Tennant golf course permit is as good as gold. There's only 2 permits issued in the whole state of California. There's only one district that's actually using that, that's us, and it paid off perfect last year. It worked exactly the way we wanted it to work last year.
It seems like the state board has almost changed their attitude. They want to work with us rather than just beat us around with a club. Is there an attitude change down there? I mean, do we have new people? How come we're being so successful?
I don't know. we know that we've been working with those guys for a long time. They know we're not fooling around. They also know that we've got, I've known these guys for a long time. They kind of figure they know what I'm doing, so they kind of listen to some. They have a PhD on the other side that basically certified that I am in fact an expert at wastewater treatment plant, so that kind of helped a lot. But they're listening to what I say, and we're doing reasonable stuff. It's also, you know, actually they allowed me to do a full-scale pilot plant on the pilot test on the Copper Cove plant, which is almost unheard of, and they actually approved it in writing, and it's actually working. So I mean, that was on the THM problem we had down there. We bypassed the chlorination system. We go right to the UV, which eliminated the THMs, which we proved. So I mean, all the stuff we've been doing has been working out really well there, and that they've been getting regular reports like they wanted to. So we're making them look good too, because we're actually solving the permit problem down there. We had the 2 permits in conflict with the others, and in the end, it'll help Saddle Creek too, because they're going to be able to get the water they need. Cut back on some of the other thing that's true, that'll cut back on some of the domestic use down at Saddle Creek right now too. Because that was one of the items that was discussed with the CSD and Saddle Creek, that we'll be able to cut back on some of it.
Wow.
So that's a good thing.
No more coughing.
And I got, but yeah, that permit, if that comes through, that's going to be unbelievable. I mean, that's a really good thing, and I think they're going to do it because I know they want to do it. They gave us 2 TSOs. The other one we get is we're putting 2 fill stations in. We're putting one at Evans Pass Fire Station for anybody that's going to be hurting on wells. We're also putting one up at the Evans Pass Fire Station. We've talked to both chiefs at both places, and by the end of the week we ought to have something in. So if somebody in fact is really desperately out of water in the wells, you know, we've not gotten directly contacted by anybody. Just being out in the community, we've heard stories of people having to go a little bit deeper, they're hurting for water and stuff like that. Currently, we have a fill station. We have 2 fill stations in Jenny Lynn. We have one at Jenny Lynn Road. We also have one at Silver Rapids. And then we also have one at the water plant in Copper Cove right now, which we use to serve some of the people, well, people that don't have any water. So what I'm going to do is by the end of the week, I'll have a fill station in up at Evans Pass Fire. We talked to Dave Barr, and we also talked to West Point, so we'll have one up there. It'll be the same deal. You have to come in here, sign up, and get a key. And I don't even. Do we charge them the base rate now? I thought we
No, $10 a month.
$10 a month, yeah. Because we were talking about one-time charge of the base rate at that, I think. Yeah,
So for clarification, Bill, that's anyone in the county who needs water or is a need, can show it, do they have to show a need for water or just sign up for $10 a month?
Well, they generally would, we're kind of the honor system. If your well's having problems, we're gonna give you the water. I mean, the Diamond 20 has a big problem down in Copper. That's why that got put in down at the Copper Cove water plant, because it wasn't economically feasible to run a water line over there for 20 houses. It was like $10 million or something. So we've set up a fill station down there. Jenny Lynn we've had down there for years because of the bursting people. You got 17 people out there. They come out there with a truck. They all have the keys. Their names down there. They pay us $10 a month. Is that what it is? We have $10 a month, and that's kind of how it's worked. And then we put one down when we did the Jenny Lynn Road extension. Another one right at the fire station there. That was to try to help the Dolly Cassidy people out before we did the assessment district there too. So that's kind of where that one came from.
With the drought situation and a lot of attention coming from the drought, I'm going to anticipate that this is being done because there's potentially more customers that are going to be affected and possibly sign up for this. Can we do a press release, get the word out that?
You got Joe right there.
Make that headlines on the front page.
Have we been informed by the county, or what led us to?
We've been hearing people talking about the problem, so anticipation of having to do stuff. I mean, we're gonna have locks on this. You just can't walk up there and open it up. Plus, we're also putting it next to the fire station because there is some sort of, manpower capability there watching this stuff. So we're just doing it in anticipation of, instead of waiting until the last minute to do it, we're just putting it out there. The other ones are gonna have been and will continue to be active as they have been for years. And that person doesn't have any water, so we don't know that.
So we've been hearing, people have been calling customer service saying, can we get water? Or, how have we been hearing about it?
Well,
it's
people talking to us in the community. Typically, the people from Mountain Ranch usually call me, tell me that they're having problems. I haven't gotten a call yet. Some of the people I bumped into around the county and just said, hey, look at, I've had to drill my water well 50 more feet and stuff like that to try to get water. Bits and pieces of information have been coming in. I don't think anybody is aware that we could do something like this. I mean, the guys that are our regular customers at Silver Rapids and Copper Cove know that we do this, that we do have fill stations for these guys. I don't think these other guys even thought about it. I think they're just basically in the position where they're probably gonna either run out of water, or probably pretty close to it the way it looks like this year. That maybe if the district just does this as a goodwill gesture, I guess we would call it, and do something like that. I mean, if you guys don't want to do it, I won't do it.
No, I'm fine with it. I was just wondering how we've been, I mean, have we talked to Brian Moss? I mean,
We're gonna talk to Brian Moss.
I mean, maybe they can help us, people go in there and get an application to re-drill their well or reline their well. Maybe we can have, some information to provide, say, hey, look, in the interim, we'll provide you the service. I mean, it seems like, because the wells are not our responsibility, but it seems like we need to have interaction with environmental health, so they can refer people to us in that case.
Yeah, I'm gonna go see Brian. I need to go over there and talk to Brian about some other things. That happens to be one of the things that's on my list to talk about. But yeah, I'm gonna tell Brian what we're gonna do and make sure that he is aware that this is available out there. And that'll.
And because, Bill, because all the press in the county isn't represented, we do have one, the main paper is represented here, but could we get a press release out, and who would be responsible for getting that out? Can someone? Okay, and.
How's that for a while? Can we take a vote on that? But no, I'm gonna talk to Brian.
No, press release, okay.
We could do that.
All right.
And then.
And just covering where these are at and why we're doing it, and if your wells.
If they're gonna do the same thing, we have a lot of experience dealing with this type of situation because of Diamond 20, because of Burson, okay? Typically, the people are showing up in pickup trucks with maybe 500-gallon tanks. That's a lot of weight. Some of those trucks aren't exactly gonna go to the Indianapolis 500 next year. What we're trying to do is find a location where we got somebody around, which is the fire department's usually the best place. Off the main beaten path, so we're not gonna have to be merging into 50-mile-an-hour traffic with a bunch of weight behind the truck. So that's kind of why we picked those. And there's usually like I said, there's usually somebody around 24 hours a day, so it's actually kind of the best place for us to do it. I mean, that's kind of what we picked. I mean, there's no real good place up in Evans Pass to pick.
Okay, great.
And then on the USDA, I said, Mitch asked me to see if we could get some drought assistance money and stuff like that, so I started calling around, and the USDA said they maximum $500,000 per loan. They said, why don't you just go through the regular program, that's 45%. So I talked to him, explained to him, he did a real quick thing, we're eligible for 45% up there. I get financial information going into him, and we'll see what happens. But, we've been deemed eligible applicant with eligible product. That means we're in the running. Arnold's medium household income is 55. The statewide that they're using is 62, so they come in the intermediate funding zone, and that's why you get your 45, 55. They're offering 3% 40-year loan if we want to tag on, but there's no prepayment penalties. In other words, if we get better financing and at close we pay it off, so it's no big deal. They like
so it's a 45% grant, and then there's also a 3% loan at 40 years.
Yep. So I mean, it's worth the shot. I mean, it's 2 point.
Well, so we'll compare that with some of our other financing methods.
That is correct.
Okay.
Right. But we might as well get the grant. It doesn't cost us anything.
What's the government came out with a $700-some-odd million drought relief thing. Is there anything in the that we might qualify in regards to that? I mean,
but we're
first
talking.
glance, I didn't see a whole lot there, but I just wanted to.
Oh, I heard it's $485 million of that. Let's hold this today. But we've talked to CDPH, the SRF people, asked them what we feedback, and then the person we talked to yesterday is in charge of the state for the drought assistance. So we're seeing what she's going to come back with. But they told us $485 million were earmarked as IR programs. Integrated water management plan. Those regional water's worth $485 million. It's going to be a dog fight. I mean, $585 million sounds like a lot of money. It's not. And in California, we get just to put stuff in perspective, state of California gets $700 million a year annually from the federal government for the SRF program, so this ain't a lot of money. So, but the thing is we'll go through the normal USDA. We have a lot of advantages. In the rural community, we have the population, and some of our areas have lower income, so we're eligible for a lot of stuff out there. So we're trying to go through the USDA Rural Development Project, and that's what they're talking about Arnold for. So, and he's gonna come out, wants to take a look at it and stuff like that. You know, I gave him a whole spiel on knocking businesses out and stuff like that, so they're on board with the whole thing. That's about all I got to do.
John?
I have a question, totally different topic. Do you have any report on the current status of the house that's not one of our customers that's been dumping sewage into the lake and has other people running into the same line? And he's been paying us, I think, to go over to a nearby station. Supposedly he's sitting a pump station, and supposedly he's sending it over there. But I'm hearing all sorts of, the last I heard was a bunch of rumors about him still overusing that house.
As a factory is wrong. We know it's a factory. Obviously, we're part of the game down there because he's gonna have to tie into our system. He's gonna get water from our system, and he's also gonna get sewage. And what he's gonna have to do is, he's going through the application process right now to determine exactly what it is. He's gonna have to run a line all the way down his driveway. He's gonna need a private encroachment on that road because apparently it's a county road. We don't want the system. We'll just take it at our connection point down there, which we gave him. He is in fact hired an engineer. He is in fact moving forward. He's not putting the temporary fix in there. The slip lining thing is crazy. I mean, I can't believe anybody would approve that. And then he's also getting water out of the lake right now, which is, as you're a water guy, there's a special designation for it in for CDPH. It's don't do it. Okay. But, so he's gonna have to get potable water from us, and currently, we're working with him to connect him into our system. He's obviously gonna have to pay all the connection fees, he's gonna have to pay the right amount of EDUs. He currently had one EDU. We were allowing him to take his holding tank and then dumping into one of our manholes over there. We shut that off months ago. He's basically shut down anyway because it's that time of year. But he is currently, he's not gonna do a temporary fix, he's going for the permanent fix. We have the county, and Mr. Fraser several months ago, and that's what the determination is. But he is, in fact, as an engineer, there are plans and stuff being developed, and then obviously, once we get the whole thing, we're gonna have to come up with some sort of capacity charges. So he's not discharging anything into our system right now. You know, he has some other issues with Trident down there, so we'll see what happens.
Okay.
But he's trying to do everything legal.
Don?
Can you tell me the status of fly-in?
Flying Acres, we've been getting submittals from Mazingo, the contractor. We're just waiting for him to go. We've been kind of cutting him a lot of slack because we bid $48 a linear foot for the piping, which is extremely low. And, you know, the county's made some concessions, allowing him to cut some shut roads off. So it looks like he's going to be able to do that. But hopefully, I mean, nobody expected this, to be honest. I mean, so we, I don't know, probably, I don't know, maybe by the end of this month or next month, we can get some sort of idea when he's going to go. He's already been doing some submittals on materials and stuff he plans on buying, so we're currently reviewing those. We haven't really got a start date. I mean, you know, I mean, we expected snow up there. We didn't expect dry weather, and he didn't either. So I mean, we can't have him starting and stopping. Once he hits the go button, he ought to be going. But Mazingo is, we are in communication with him on a regular basis, and we'll see what happens.
Thank you.
That's a lot of questions.
Anything further for Mr. Purley?
No, I'm just getting warmed up. Meeting's almost over. Come on.
All right. Mr. Duncan?
Another silly question, but I'm good with those. People who have had their meters shut off and they have no access to water, can they make application to get the $10 program for the emergency water?
Wow.
Is there anyone who wants to, anyone on staff? Okay.
The answer is no.
Okay, board reports. Mr. Davidson.
I don't have reports as much as I have some questions. Just a comment on the TUD matter. Bob brought it up a little bit earlier. It was in one of the local papers here the other day about their drought response. Will likely be a significant reason for their reenacting their rate increase. So it's in effect a drought surcharge, which is something I've talked about before. You know, when you ask people to conserve too much, then you reduce your income and you end up charging people you end up having to charge people to make up your budget. And I think it's unfortunate that TUD is going through such a struggle. But I just think there's some board responsibility there. They didn't want to do the tough work, a year or so ago, and now they're finding themselves in a difficult situation, and they're using the drought as an excuse to raise their rates. I think that's unfortunate. Another thing I was concerned about, and I don't know, maybe somebody can tell me that we were at the board meeting yesterday at the Board of Supervisors when they recommended the Moke River become a wild and scenic river. I think that's someplace we should have been if we weren't. I think would have been a good place for our general manager to be, or at least send a designee to find out what the discussion was regarding that. I don't know if the Board of Supervisors asked us about our plans on McCollum. I read a few things in the paper that I thought were erroneous, and about there not being any potential projects or us having any water rights on McCollum. I don't know if it's good or bad, but that's a discussion that we should have been in, and I think we should bring it back to our board for a recommendation one way or the other. So I'd like to see that as a future agenda item. And then the other issue is just, I know we've done a couple things regarding the drought in the CCWD as far as our water usage goes. I don't think it's been enough. It seems like we should be making, at least every 2 weeks, making recommendations on, sprinkler systems or other ways to save water. But I also don't want to create a panic like we see every single day, because the community is being hit with the panic on the channel, on the nightly news, and even so much as I read an article the other day about or not an article, but letters to the editor about over in Sonora, they had some kids throwing water balloons around, and we had half a page of letters to the editor saying I can't believe what a ridiculous waste of water. I mean, there's hysteria out there, and I think it's our responsibility to, particularly, we are different than other counties, and we need to make people understand that there is no reason for them not to plant their garden, be smart about it, and maybe offer some suggestions of how to go about those things. But that's why we're here, in my opinion. And I want to ease the hysteria. I don't want to create a situation where we have to come back and say, oh, holy moly, we've sold so much less water that we have to have a conservation surcharge. So I think that we need to be proactive, and I think we need to start, soon. So anyway, those are my comments.
It's a waste of balloons too,
Can't afford that.
Thank you, Jeff.
There's no concept of volume.
Mr. Stump.
February 14th, I attended the Aqua Drought briefing in Sacramento. It was real interesting because there were a lot of people that you don't normally see because of the hysteria that Jeff's talking about. But the real big takeaway is CAL FIRE is completely tied into this. If a county decides that they've got a drought emergency, then all of a sudden it's CAL FIRE and OES. They're driving the bus. So I don't think that the counties are going to be real excited about creating this situation for themselves, because they'll lose control over it, because at that point CAL FIRE is going to be doing the leading at that. For that, a lot of different counties did a presentation showing how bad it is down in the valley. The valley is getting hit real hard with this. I think, like Bob said, Folsom is, for Northern California, is the epicenter. We got a report on Folsom, and it's scary.
17% was on the news this morning, 17% of normal capacity.
They had a map showing the users around Folsom, and it's insane. I mean, this is a huge number of people that depend on Folsom for their drinking water. If that doesn't occur, that's going to be an incredible impact. So there's a reason for the Folsom people to be panicked. February 19th, I had my Aqua Energy Committee meeting. This was real interesting. CPUC, they see themselves as the real big dog in California with utilities, and they've just eliminated their water energy staff, which kind of puzzled me. But everyone's still talking in terms of energy issues. They've already had some warnings in terms of a lack of energy coming up. Demand response is the comment that everybody is using. If you don't know what demand response is, it's when there's not enough electricity, we turn you off. They go to a lot of manufacturing, a lot of water agencies, a lot of anybody that uses lots of energy. They are already set up in Southern California for demand response. I can see it occurring probably statewide within just a couple of years. Everything is being pushed towards natural gas generation, which is really nice as long as there's enough natural gas. But this is going to become a real issue. It's not just water, it's also energy, because we use a ton of energy. Yesterday I attended DWR IRWM workshop. Jeff saw me on TV. This goes back to Jeff's comments. The governor announced he's going to drop, I don't know, $500–600 million, and about $250 million of that is IRWM money. We're at the last gasp for Prop 84 IRWM money. This is going to be the third round, and our region has about 27 million that we're going to be competing with. And this is going to be the last of the bond money unless this new bond passes. But the reality for us is we have to be real picky about the projects that we choose. I was kind of taken aback because if you have some weak projects, it can completely offset the good projects. The ranking system is set up where you better only be presenting really good projects if you expect to get funded. I think we have it. I know on the McCollum, on the MAC, we do a real good job as far as ranking. I think the T-Stand has been going through some struggles, and they're going to have a more difficult time. But the state, because of the drought, is ramping up real fast for these, and so they're cutting their response time almost in half in terms of, we want you to present to us within this many days. We have a whole schedule for it now. But it's going to come real fast, and we've got to get ready. And we need to figure out some DACs, because DACs rank so high when they look at all your proposals. So that's going to be real important for the IRWMs. March 11th, Mountain Counties and Aqua Region 3, their presentation is going to be Drought, A View from the Top. It's in Auburn, if you'd like to attend. And let's see, that's all I've got.
Thank you, Don. Bob?
Yeah, on March 5th, Aqua's having their annual legislative symposium where they bring a number of folks at the state level in to talk about water issues. It'll probably be interesting this year because of the drought things. Don had mentioned earlier in a question with Bill, an attitude change at the State Water Quality Control Board. And I just want to bring that up because I remember when I first got on the board, and I know Jeff can confirm this, there used to be that one molecule rule where one molecule of effluent or even treated wastewater in a body of water polluted that body of water. And now we've gone to the point where recycling has become an important part of the whole water management system in California, and we have the city of San Diego talking about using recycled water as part of their potable water stream. So we've really come a long way in the last 8 years. I think it's a huge tribute to the ability to change thinking when enough clear heads prevail that you can actually make that change. One question I have with regard to the USDA loan, I guess this is for you, Jeff, as much as anybody. I know when we committed to borrow money to move ahead with the CIP proposals, it was all within a 5 to 7 year period that we were going to repay these loans. And I hope that if we do indeed get the USDA, especially if there's a grant component to it, that we still stay committed to that 5 to 7 years, because I think that was the whole nature of the loan commitment, was to get it paid down so we don't have this thing nagging at us, even a small loan for a short period of time. So I hope we can address that.
I'd rather not go into great detail since this isn't really agendized. However, we are looking at all our options at this particular point in time. And when we come back and discuss the loan, this will be a component of it based on the timing of the USDA, whether we actually get it. This is just preliminary conversations.
Well, I think it's
there is one option too, and Bill has learned this from USDA. We can pay off the USDA loan at any time.
Yeah, you said there was no penalty
After closing.
Yeah, no, that's terrific. I just want to remind everybody that was a commitment that I thought we had made. With regard to the IRWM, the T-stand I think is maturing. I am the designated representative from CCWD, and I was down at the last meeting last week, and it was kind of interesting, the direction that a lot of people are beginning to think. There seems to be more of a cooperative venture, and there was a request for new proposals, and I suggested 3, one of which might be a collaborative proposal working with some people on the Highway 4 corridor. Another would be for possible dredging of some of our areas that have sediment issues. And I also proposed the possibility of looking at the use of the Meridian Bearcat Mine and Little John Creek. So these are all things that might be on the table, may not be, but they were just asking for conceptual things, and so that's what I threw it out. And I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dennis?
The only thing I have is a question, and I'd like to have ask for a brief comment. Lynn, what's this? How much is has there been a significant increase in no pay since our rate increase?
I don't think there has been a significant increase because of the structure of how we collect our rates. There have been more people who have been late. I think the last reminders that were sent out, we had about 1,900, which is a record.
Well,
But that doesn't mean that we don't eventually collect.
I don't want to get into discussion, but I bet that's not the reason.
Excuse me?
I bet it's the rental market.
Well, the rental, the tenant issue doesn't take place until April. So I don't think that has any bearing right now.
Okay, I just, if there is a significant increase, I'd like to stay abreast on it.
I can give you statistics. There's a report that we produced, and I thought the board got a copy of how many reminders and door tags go out every year.
Yeah, we did. I just,
So you can track that. It has not been a significant increase, and it's also cyclical. This time of year, it's usually higher following the holidays.
okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dennis. I do have one item. It's a request to commit to create a ad hoc committee moving forward to do a study of the possible tunnel tap ad hoc committee is what I want to call it. And Don Stump, Dennis Dooley, will be appointed to the committee. What our goal is not involve any staff time for this study and for this ad hoc committee, and just to look into this hydro generation possibility and report back to the board at a future meeting.
You're going to give a limit on it? It's going to be a 60